Hello and welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not the Mouse, the podcast all about animated movies not made by Disney. I'm your host, Octaviano Macias, and this week I am thankfully talking about a good movie. Which movie is it? Well, first, let's get this out of the way. Normally when I do these recordings, I run off of a script. Basically, little notes here and there, some stuff that I will say, just to remind myself of what I want to talk about. Unfortunately, this week, I've been running on a bit of a short schedule. I've been all over the place, so didn't really take the time to actually make a lot of notes, script a lot of stuff, so hopefully this still comes off concise and clear. I just wanted to let you know, just in case if some of you notice, like, hey, this one's a little sloppier than the other episodes, it's because of that. Not something I want to do too much, but it's just something that sort of happened. And who knows, maybe this ends up being better this way. The last time I had something like this was when I did the Catstone Dance episode, but that was mostly because I was running with a co-host, so we're going to be bouncing off each other, so it's to a point where, this is not going to be scripted in the same way as it would a solo. So, let's see how that happens with a solo episode. Okay? So, for this solo episode where it's a good movie and didn't have time to take notes, what exactly is the subject? Well, it's a little movie called Persepolis. I've heard some people say Persepolis. Sorry if I get it wrong. I've heard it's supposed to be Persepolis. Correctly, if I'm wrong, again, I do apologize on that. Now, this is based on a graphic novel by the author Marjan Satrapi. Again, if I got her name wrong, I do deeply apologize. I understand the importance of getting names right. After all, I have a hard name, so I do apologize if I got that wrong. Anyways, it's based on the graphic novel, which is based on her life, telling her story from when she was a kid up until adulthood. The movie is basically the same. Now, granted, I've never fully read the Persepolis graphic novel, so I can't say too much about what's changed, what's different. I'm mainly going off of the movie, so if you feel like something I say is wrong based on the comic, just understand I'm not talking about the comic. So yeah, this basically documents her life from when she was a kid up until adulthood. You see all the different stages from her just being this very energetic child who's constantly going from one ideology to the next, to her being a teen and being forced to leave her home, then to her return to home, and eventually, spoilers, her leaving home, and this time pretty much permanently. I don't know how. Of course, it could be different based on how it was like in her real life, but that's basically what you're seeing in the movie, which is what I'm talking about. Now, first off, like I've said right at the start of this, very good movie. This was nominated for Best Animated Film back in 2008. It was for the 2007 movies. Lost to Ratatouille, and while personally I do prefer Ratatouille, this is a very strong movie, and if this movie had won over Ratatouille, I would have perfectly understood. It's a really solid movie. Kind of a mess in some parts, but not in a way that it really hurts the movie. I know some people have told me that apparently it's missing parts from the graphic novel that loses some of the structure. I'm not sure how true that is, but you have to understand that this is a movie that's basically telling the story of Marjan's life. So obviously, it's going to be going from beat to beat to beat, and sometimes that's not going to be very perfectly structured, which is fine. Of course, a lot of people do prefer structure, which is why I kind of prefer Ratatouille, just because that movie is kind of perfectly set up from beginning to end. But that doesn't mean I'm not knocking this movie for this. I mean, it is a really good movie for what it's doing, and realistically, if you like it more than Ratatouille, I get it. I'm only bringing that up just so you guys understand where this came out. Me personally, I saw this, I'd say around 2009-ish. I know it was definitely in high school. I had been taking an art class or an animation class, and this was shown to us. And yeah, it's a very beautiful movie, very depressing, but at times very uplifting. And it was just a really satisfying watch in my high school class. It was something where I was like, this is really amazing. And well, certainly I was already looking for movies like this. Even at that point, it was always nice to have that option of finding it somewhere, because you have to realize that when it comes to a lot of these foreign movies, they're not always the easiest finds for people. And I know some people will disagree. Some people will say like, well, if you just look at the right streaming sites or the right DVD places or whatever, you'll find it. But again, not everyone has those options, and especially me in high school. I mean, I'm not gonna have all those options. Like, if it was me today, yeah, definitely I would have seen this easily around the time it came out, unless if it was put in very limited theaters, which has happened. But for the most part, I do try to reach out as much as I can, and AMC or whatever theaters are around are usually pretty good at getting this stuff now. But again, not always an option for everyone. Me seeing it as a high schooler, definitely something that I loved. Me seeing it today, again, something that I really loved. Some stuff that I really appreciate a lot more, and some stuff where I'm like, okay, I can see myself being very ignorant when I first saw it compared to what I'm seeing now, better understanding certain aspects of the movie. For the most part, it hasn't really changed in terms of quality. For the most part, I understand exactly what was being said then as I do now. It's just, there's certain things that hit you a lot differently. Like, of course, any of the stuff that, when it comes to not forgetting where she came from, I mean, that hits a lot more now than it does, than it did when I was in high school, where I didn't really think about too much about my culture and my roots. It certainly is something that has changed in time with my perspective of the movie, but that's not the only thing with it. When it comes down to it, this is a movie that, if anything, I would recommend watching at different points in your life, especially if you watch it at a young age, because it'll still be satisfying at a young age. It'll still be satisfying if you're, let's say, like 14 years old. But yeah, just realizing the weight of everything it's telling, because it's basically showing, like, okay, of course it's showing this girl's life, but it's also showing how society is basically changing around where she lived. She was in Tehran, and sorry if I say any of these words wrong. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but yeah, so she was from Iran, specifically Tehran, and you see like just the different changes when regimes change, throughout wars, throughout just different forms of leadership, and it's something that feels very alien to a lot of us. Like, we only hear tiny pieces of it whenever it comes to foreign nations. I know right now there's a whole thing going on with Afghanistan, not to go into too much detail, but you know, it is kind of reflection of what you're seeing when it comes to this kind of stuff, where we don't think too much about other places that are not as safe as the U.S. Like, and the U.S. of course is not a very safe place right now, but compared to other places, very safe, very peaceful. Like, not a knock to those places. It's just acknowledging the reality of, like, yeah, a lot of these things are not as bad as you would imagine. And this movie even acknowledges that too, because at some point you see Marjan as she's I forget if she was at France at that point or if it's at Vienna. I know she hops around in places, but she's with like a group of people. This is her outside of her country already. She's made some friends, and they're all like the anarchist revolutionary types, but you can see right away that they're kind of idiots. Like, their view on everything is just very simplistic. They want to destroy a system that they don't even understand. They have no clue what to actually do with it. They're just like, oh, you know, down with the system. And you can tell in many ways that the only reason why they even have her around as a member of this group is just to kind of say, like, look, you're our token refugee girl. You know, we get some ideas about how the revolution is like through you, but you're just an item to us. We don't care. Which, let's be real here, there's a lot of people who are like that. As much as I appreciate a lot of people who are activists online, you will find a lot of activists online who don't really think about what exactly they're fighting for and just treat everything like a game, or only think of things from their view. Think about how people only fight for useless reasons without understanding that some people are fighting to survive, to make a difference. That's something that this movie actually addresses. And it was a really strong scene. It's much stronger. It's much stronger watching it now than it was watching it years ago in high school, where I probably was one of those people who thought that like that, and maybe I still think like that, and I've just gotten better about it, but I'm still not fully changing. I'm willing to admit that. I'm always progressing, so it's nice to reflect and think like, hey, what you're seeing might not be the full story and might be very wrong when compared to the reality. So yeah, the story kind of goes in that direction. There's a lot of talk about politics, revolution, and yeah, it's understandable with a story like this and a subject like this. But funny enough, it is still very uplifting about it. Not that it ever sugarcoats any of it. It's very clear. Stuff is bad. You see just how bad women are treated in Iran, especially over the course of time. You see just how bad the government gets, how much they hunt down like people who are just trying to relax. But at the same time, it acknowledges like, hey, look, not everyone is like that. You know, be kind to other people. Enjoy your life. Be fine with the little stumbles over in your life. Like Marjan hooks up with several men, and it acknowledges like, look, sometimes guys suck. We really do. So I'm not gonna argue with it. And yeah, like at one point she's even married to a guy, and the mother is disappointed in her, but she kind of understands, like, okay, well, that's what you had to do. The grandma is pretty much approving of it, but the second Marjan realizes that, hey, this guy's kind of a dick, he's kind of useless, he's just a useless shit, she's, of course, heartbroken, like anyone would be. And the grandma is quick to point out, like, look, just because your marriage life sucks doesn't mean that you have to be tied down to it. Just divorce him. People might look down on you, but forget those people. Just be proud of who you are. It's great. I really love that the movie wants to at least tackle these issues. I'm not sure if I'm hearing barking, and if that's coming through, I'm so sorry. But yeah, so this is a movie that clearly is depressing. It's sad, but it knows how to make you laugh. Like, there's of course another moment in the movie where Marjan is showing how she's gonna fight life's challenges. So it's just this whole montage of her singing to Eye of the Tiger. It's hilarious because, of course, she's singing it off key. If you're watching it in the original language, because this movie's in French, which is how I saw it. This is the one moment where she's actually singing in English, so it's kind of like just throwing you off for a loop. And it's just a very fun scene. It's honestly one of the best uses of Eye of the Tiger that I've ever seen, up there with Rocky. Just because it's like, it's goofy, it's fun, it's silly, it's kind of inspiring in a way. But yeah, really solid movie, and I'm sorry if I'm not going into too much into this other than just basically talking about stuff from the movie, spoiling stuff. It's just, there's not really that much of a deep history that I can talk about it without going into the politics of it, which that's something that you'd have to watch the movie, just to fully grasp. Obviously, I support whatever it takes to make their lives better, but it would not be up to me to fully create that, because it's, of course, much more than just me saying, like, oh, well, get rid of the people that are super religious, or get rid of sexism or whatever. Like, it's more than that. There are so many layers to these things that people often forget, that you have to really look into to understand what exactly makes a problem. But yeah, it's just a really solid movie. I enjoyed it. I can't imagine a lot of people walking away with it not enjoying it. The animation, really solid stuff. It's kind of like the graphic novel from what I've seen, but in motion, which, yeah, some people can say, like, okay, what's so special about that? It's like, look, it's a very unique style. Like, most of it is in black and white, but you can still see there's so much life to this, even if it's black and white. A single still might look grim and depressing because of the choice, but then when you watch it in motion, you start to realize that there's so much joy coming from just this animation. And I love it for that. It's definitely a special little movie, and the animation is great. I know that based on what I was reading, one of the biggest obstacles was that because Marjan came back to direct this and write this movie, and one of the big things was that the people who were making the story, were trying to produce this movie, were like, maybe don't do it as a cartoon. They were kind of like saying, like, oh, I don't imagine this working as this cartoony animated movie, so they wanted to do it as a live action movie, which would have been a definite loss. For one, I'm annoyed as it is when people think that, oh, movies have to be live action to be taken seriously. Animation should not be treated like that. Animation can tell very serious stories like this, which is proof that yes, more movies should be animated. More people should look into animation and understand that it is a very special art form onto itself. I'm glad that she stuck to her guns, made it animated, and eventually the producers who were hesitant on it were won over on it, so great stuff. Again, sorry if I'm not really going too deep into this. It's just, I'm trying my best without working off a script. It's just a really satisfying movie, is what it is. It's just beautiful from start to finish. I love a lot of the moments where you get a sense of Marjan's musical taste, just because that's a lot of my musical taste, whether it's the Michael Jackson or whatever. I know at one point they kind of mocked ABBA, which I'm like, I like ABBA. I'm glad they're getting back together. Not so keen on the Avatars idea, but yeah, I like ABBA. But yeah, it's just a really satisfying movie. I enjoyed it. I hope, if anything, more people watch this. Like I've been saying with pretty much all the movies, minus the Emoji movie, go out and watch it. These are really good movies. It's not all Disney. Sometimes you just gotta find other things. And look, I love Disney. I love a lot of the movies that Disney makes. But for animation to truly grow, people need to start recognizing stuff beyond Disney. Need to start recognizing that animation can be done for more things than just what they normally expect. And I hope, if anything, they could learn from this. This might be one of my shortest episodes, honestly, just because I don't know much else to say other than just good things about the movie, good things about the movie, good things about the movie. And that's not a knock on the movie. It's not that it doesn't offer much. There's a lot of ideas to go into. It's just that I feel like I would probably be doing a disservice to talk about its ideas on communism, on just Marx, all that. I'm not. I wouldn't call myself an apolitical person. Everything's political. Everything has politics, and of course, if you know me, you know that I do put in my fair share in politics. It's just I'm probably not the best person to talk about breaking these things down, especially while talking about entertainment. Maybe I'm an idiot for that, and I'm sorry if that's disappointing, but it is what it is. So yeah, I guess I can close it off here. Like I said, it's going to be a shorter episode, and I'm sorry for that. This has been Octaviano Macias. Thank you for listening to I Can't Believe It's Not the Mouse. And if you enjoyed this, consider supporting my Patreon. That's www.patreon.com/SciCams. SAICAMS. www.patreon.com/SciCams. Thank you for listening, and Persepolis, great movie. I stumbled a lot on that. Sorry for every time I said something wrong. Just go watch it. Thank you. Hey, just wanted to say thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. Comment below if you had any thoughts on this. And if you want to support me even more, there's always the option of Patreon. Yes, I have a Patreon. Patreon would be a great way to help me grow this channel, as it's a great way to get equipment, a great way to let me know what you guys like, and it's a great way to help me financially. Just saying, the more I have on Patreon, the more time I'll have for these videos. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.